Welcome back to CVM Live. It's now time for the major stories in detail. The Clarendon police are investigating the murder of an 18-year-old student in the parish this morning. She's Avinash Gordon, who was an upper sixth form student at Clarendon College. The preliminary police reports indicate that Avinash was at home at around 2:15 Thursday morning when members of her household heard her screaming and went to investigate. She was found with multiple stab wounds. Her death comes 2 weeks after the killing of another promising teenager in St. James. Principal of Clarendon College David Wilson characterized Avinash as a polite, jovial and cordial young lady who was always involved in school activities. He noted that her peers had to be counseled this morning after hearing the tragic news of her death. Meanwhile, the Education Minister released a statement today condemning the student's murder.
Avinash was in her final year of high school studying the sciences with the ambition of becoming a doctor. It is truly heartbreaking, not just to her parents, but to this country, that the life of a teen with such great potential was cut short. I extend my sympathy to her family, friends, school colleagues, and staff at the Clarendon College.
The ministry said a trauma team would be dispatched to provide grief counseling and to support the school. The security forces have stepped up the hunt for some of St. James's most dangerous criminals with an online viral campaign seeking public assistance. The 17 men are wanted in connection with gang activities and other crimes, including multiple murders, wounding and shooting, and rape. As part of the security operations under the public state of emergency currently in effect in St. James, there is an online campaign utilizing the Twitter and Facebook pages. This initiative by the security forces is geared towards gaining information to assist with the dismantling of gangs and the reduction of crime in St. James. Images of these persons can also be found at facebook.com/takebackstjames and twitter.com/takebackstjames. A shooting incident in the troubled Spanish town this afternoon sent scores of residents scurrying for cover. The police have intensified their search for the culprits. We understand the incident stems from the killing of a man the previous night by the police. Residents from Marchpen, Jones Avenue and Monk Street led the protest, which included roadblocks. This afternoon, news emerged that the St. Jago High School was shut up, but we subsequently learned that there was no truth to that story. And the father of former politician Kern Spencer remains hospitalized after being shot by gunmen at his Balaclava home in St. Elizabeth on Wednesday night. CVM Live's Khadija Thomas has this report.
Described as being the works of God, Kern Spencer says his father's survival after he was injured by gunshot wounds is a miracle. Spencer says being a licensed firearm holder saved his father's life.
I received a phone call from my smaller brother, Dr. Dwayne Spencer, at about 8:30 yesterday evening, indicating that Dad was on his way to the hospital. Upon reaching the Blackwell Hospital, I got the chance to talk with him. He indicated to me that he was leaving his business place, and upon reaching to his home in Russell Heights, he was opening the grill to get inside his house. A masked gunman approached him from the side of the house, uttered an expletive, and immediately opened fire on him.
He says the gunman was not able to hurt his younger brother, who witnessed the incident while in his father's car.
So he had no alternative. He had to go underneath Daddy's car to protect himself, and he stayed there until the shots stopped firing. When the gunman shot my father and he started to defend himself, I think they were taken by surprise. Probably they did not know that he was the holder of a firearm. So when he returned fire, they ran in surprise.
He blames the increase in crime in Balaclava, but is happy that his father is alive.
The shot that the gunman fired, it hit his belt buckle. The shot exploded and basically ricocheted and entered and exited the top part of his belly.
Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
The used car fiasco for the police continues to play out in the deliberations of the Public Administrations and Appropriations Committee. More questions have been raised regarding who is liable for the payment of taxes on the vehicles that have already been imported. CVM Live's Joel Crosskill reports.
The confusion surrounding the import of used cars for use by the Jamaica Constabulary Force continues to deepen as the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee deliberated on the issues surrounding the procurement, at one point highlighting what was written in the tender documents regarding the responsibility of taxes on the imported vehicles.
The tender documents that were issued by the Ministry of National Security clearly indicated that all taxes and duties should have been included in the bid. The actual contract, I'm just going to read a short section. The actual contract with O'Brien's says, for goods manufactured outside the procuring entity's country, the supplier shall be entirely responsible for all taxes, stamp duties, license fees, and other such levels imposed outside the procuring entity's country.
Chairman of the PAAC, Dr. Wickham McNeil, expressed surprise that there didn't seem to be a paper trail on the moratorium.
And what kind of troubles me, member, and you're a member of the ministry, is that there, in getting a moratorium, there usually is a paper trail that justifies the decision. And the financial sector says there is no records in the ministry of this, number one. And number two, that it might have been some verbal conversation with the minister. That's not how governments are run.
Acting Financial Secretary Darlene Morrison stated that O'Brien's had gone directly to the Finance Minister in seeking the second waiver on the GCT and SCT, and not the Ministry of National Security.
In letters dated August 25, 2017 and October 25, 2017, O'Brien's International Car Sales and Rentals Limited wrote to the ministry requesting that the general consumption tax and special consumption tax being charged by the Jamaica Customs Agency on the vehicles be waived, as they are unable to absorb these costs. They have also indicated that these costs were not factored into their bid. The ministry recently wrote to the contractor advising that it is their obligation to pay the relevant duties and taxes associated with the clearance of the vehicles.
Joel Crossgill, CVM Live.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says failure to meet the 5 in 4 aspiration will not be a major setback for the government. CVM Live's Khadija Thomas reports.
The Prime Minister was responding to the question of whether the 5% growth in the gross domestic product in 4 years was now being threatened by crime. Speaking at the press briefing on Wednesday, Holness said despite this development, the Economic Growth Council is committed to creating projections for the economy to grow.
Failure to meet the growth target is everyone's failure. It's everyone's loss. But it does not stop us from aspiring, from setting targets that we know we may not reach, but they are targets that stretch us.
Holness admits crime has impacted the projections as the state of emergency continues in St. James.
There are those who would want to see more action. It's not dramatic enough. But that is not going to be the strategy. We will operate smartly. We will operate in a way that is a credit to the nation. At the end of this, whatever fallout there may be in tourism must be recovered by the commentary that the Jamaican security forces acted superbly.
He says the Planning Institute of Jamaica will formulate other strategies if the target is not met.
I still maintain that we could very well hit that 5 in 4, and we're working towards it. Because the moment I stop saying we change the projection, that's like sending a signal to all the agents in the system, reduce your effort. No, the signal is keep your effort going. Keep your effort going. That's what the 5 in 4 is about. And it's still a little bit disturbing, people lining up to say, see it fail. It's as if you're wishing Jamaica to fail.
Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
The Jamaica Labour Party held their Area Council 3 meeting recently, where the Ministers of Education and Finance spoke about some of their plans. CVM Live's Nicoy Wilson reports.
Education Minister Royal Reid says when the People's National Party PNP talks about crime, they should look back at what they did not do while they were in power. This, he said, while speaking at a recent Jamaica Labour Party Area Council 3 meeting. Minister Reid adds that the JLP needs enough time to fix the problems created by the PMP.
So Labour rights have nothing to know one term for Andrew Michael Holness and his administration. What we have just laid out is just the little prips of what we do in education. Can you imagine when Ronnie Spence and the other ministers talk about it? Because if they get 18 and a half years to master the country, you realize what more years we need to stay in power so we can correct the problems in this country and move the country forward.
The vision of the JLP, Reid says, is to establish a rural bus system to transport children to school. The minister says the JLP is sowing a new seed of prosperity by increasing access to education, which in turn will make individuals less inclined to take on a life of crime.
The people poor and they can't access education because they don't have the money. You're not going to get them out of poverty. So this is why you elect a government to run the government in such a way that the people who are most vulnerable are protected.
Meanwhile, Finance Minister Audley Shaw says the government is revisiting its land use policy. He says idle government lands must be put to use. Minister Shaw indicated that 2 programs have been put in place to help those who are seriously interested in leasing government lands. These programs are being carried out in conjunction with the World Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank. Nicole Wilson, CVM Live.
High school graduates can now access accredited associate degrees following the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding for greater access to tertiary education. CVM Live's Khadija Thomas reports.
The MOU was signed between the Education Ministry and the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean on Thursday at the New Kingston campus location. Education Minister Ruel Reid says the initiative is one means of reducing high tertiary tuition costs while promoting access to higher level education.
Especially when we are a struggling economy. We don't have to replicate and do, like what everybody else do, because sometimes even a university will have what you call a lot of legacy costs that are not real direct costs in delivering the education. So some people think, and I want to dispel the notion, that the more expensive universities necessarily mean you're getting a better quality of education. Because some of it's legacy costs.
The program will begin in September and will see grade 12 students being given the opportunity to start an early college program.
We've had few tertiary institutions in this space, and my approach is to broaden, to make it far more liberal. So we are, once you achieve the requirements, there's no barrier really for you to become a full degree granting institution. Let the competition begin, because we're in a hurry to develop the human potential and internationalization of education. We can now move into edu-tourism.
Scholarships will be available to eligible students, but Reid adds that the Student Loan Bureau will also consider loan applications from students who register.
So these are some of the reforms that will have to take place as we strive philosophically to get all our students to be fully trained and certified. And this is a precursor to that particular destination. It is very creative, it is aligned with the government strategy, it is very timely, it is very necessary, it is indeed revolutionary.
Khadija Thomas,
public relations team and partners from the 3 major markets, the United States, Canada and the United Kingdom. Bishop Rowan Edwards led a march through Spanish Town Bus Park where he called for an end to the murders in Spanish Town and for gunmen to turn themselves over to the church. CVM Live's Joel Koskill reports.
Bishop Rowan Edwards, chairman of the Spanish Town Revival, led hundreds of congregants through the bus park in Spanish Town, calling out for peace in Jamaica. He expressed frustration at the over 100 murders that were committed in Spanish Town during the course of 2017.
We are fed up of the wickedness that is taking place in our country. 1,600 plus people have been killed across our country. In Spanish Town alone, 135. Of course, it dipped last year by at least 12%. But 12% is not good enough for Spanish Town. Our bus park is stained with blood. Taxi drivers are being wiped out. And we cannot continue like this.
The bishop also had a message to the gunmen that continue to terrorize sections of Spanish Town.
I'm saying to you, gunmen, what good is this doing to you? It's only helping you. It's not helping your community. They're mashing up our town, man. And the church across Spanish Town and across this country is praying against you. And we are saying you better repent. You better come and know God. If I catch you, I won't give you to the police. Let me tell you what I'll do with you. I'll have you baptized. Give me a gun and I'll give you a Bible.
He is calling on citizens across the island to play a proactive role in driving the criminal scourge from their hiding places.
It is totally wrong. Come on, church, say it's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong for people to be killing off one another. It's time for us to live as one. Why just a few men killing off the masses, and the masses keep quiet and watch the mayhem taking place? I'm calling all Jamaicans, let's rise up from Negril Point to Moran Point. Let's block our streets and call back this country to sanity.
Joel Crossgill, CVM Live.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says failure to meet the 5 in 4 aspiration will not be a setback for the government. Speaking at the quarterly press briefing on Wednesday, the Prime Minister says the government will continue to create projections for the economy to grow.
Failure to meet the growth target is everyone's failure. It's everyone's loss. But it does not stop us from aspiring, from setting targets that we know we may not reach, but there are targets that stretch us.
Holness admits that the crime rate has impacted this projection as the state of emergency continues in St. James. He says if the growth target is not met, the Planning Institute of Jamaica will formulate new strategies.
I still maintain that we could very well hit that 5 in 4, and we're working towards it. Because the moment I stop saying we change the projection, that's like sending a signal to all the agents in the system, reduce your effort. No, the signal is keep your effort going. Keep your effort going. That's what the 5 in 4 is about. And it's a little bit disturbing, people lining up to say, see it fail. It's as if you're wishing Jamaica to fail.
CVM Live.
Time now for regional and international news with Nicoy Wilson.
Thanks, Richard. Now for news in the region. In Trinidad and Tobago, over 400 jobs will be lost following the announcement by Caribbean Nitrogen Company Limited, CNC, that it has been forced to shut down its ammonia plant immediately. The company says the shutdown is as a result of action taken by the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago, NGC, to cut off gas supply to the plant. CEO of CNC, Jerome Dookie, in a statement says, "We had no choice but to shut down the plant to ensure the well-being of our people and our investment." Mr. Dookie says the company regrets the negative impact the shutdown will have on everyone involved. He indicated that the company would continue to explore available options. And in Barbados, Prime Minister of Barbados, Frondell Stewart, says the South Coast sewage problem is not a simple matter and the government is not treating it lightly. Senior Vice President of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, BCCI, Edward Clark, yesterday raised a thorny question about the sewage crisis during the Chamber's luncheon meeting at Hilton, Barbados. In response, Stewart said the matter was engaging his attention, adding government had sought expert assistance from the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, in December. He added IDB representatives came to Barbados last month and completed an assessment of the problems at the plant. Stewart said the IDB returned that report yesterday and pledged to give the Barbados assistance in finding solutions in the short, medium and long term. And in news on the international scene, U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to halt aid to the Palestinians if they do not agree to take part in peace talks. He accused the Palestinians of disrespecting the U.S. and said, "Why should we do something for them when they do nothing for us?" The Palestinians are furious at Washington's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. They have said they no longer consider the U.S. to be a neutral broker. President Mahmoud Abbas has called Mr. Trump's declaration on Jerusalem in December the slap of the century. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Mr. Trump said the U.S. gives the Palestinians hundreds of millions of dollars in aid and support a year. That's it for regional and international news. I am Nicole Wilson. Back to you, Richard.
Well, those are the